Now, there have been concerns about incentives given to indigenous Ugandan investors as well as protective measures. Now, to help us understand if these incentives exist, we turn to Uganda Investment Authority Director General Robert MUKIZA. Good evening, sir, and welcome to NTV Weekend Edition.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here.
Pleasure having you. So there have been persistent complaints from local businesses and local investors that government favors foreign investors by giving them tax holidays and free land in industrial parks. First of all, what is your take on this, and what measures are you taking to ensure that local investors are also not marginalized?
First of all, let me first note that Uganda Investment Authority is set up under the Investment Code Act 2019 as amended. That is to ensure that we support all measures to enhance the investment climate in Uganda. And we are setting up a campaign now for investment facilitation and protection. Now, in relation to incentives, it is true that we have a generous incentive structure in Uganda, but this is an incentive structure for investors, both domestic and international investors. I want you to know that domestic investors have the same access to incentives as international investors, but the threshold is even lower for domestic investors. So, for example, to benefit from get an investment license from Uganda Investment Authority, which will allow you to access these incentives, you need just to show that you have the capacity to mobilize under 200 million shillings, $50,000, to get an investment license. But for international investor, you need to show that you can mobilize at least $1 billion Uganda shillings. So the threshold is much lower for a domestic investor. So once you have that, you can access our incentives. So if you're in agricultural value addition, you can get a 10-year tax holiday in agro-processing, both domestic and international investor. But for the domestic investor, the threshold is 200 million shillings to show that you can mobilize that. For international investor, it is 1 billion, around 250,000 US dollars. Okay. Plant and machinery that you use, you bring for your value addition, your factory, for your farm, those can be got tax-free for the domestic and international investor. But remember, the threshold is still lower for a domestic investor. If you have a research and training that you have to do for your factories, those are tax deductible. I see many people have hotels here, they train a lot of their staff. I see the same thing happens, I'm sure, in NTV here. You train and do a lot of research, but remember that is tax deductible also. So really, the incentive structure is both for domestic and international investors, but for the domestic investor, the threshold to benefit is even much lower. So I actually call upon you, the fourth estate, to really support us to drum this down and ensure that the domestic investor can take advantage of these incentives. Okay, so
how much land in terms of facilitation does the Uganda Investment Authority have available for the investors that they can apply for, especially the domestic investors?
I will call it investors, including domestic investors, any investor, as long as you meet the minimum threshold. We have up to 81 square miles of land in Uganda, and I want to thank the local governments all over the country that have given free land to Uganda Investment Authority for industrial park development, industrial development. Yumbe gave us 1,200 acres. Madiokolo, 500 acres. Padel, 500 acres. Kisoro, 630 acres. Rukunjiri, 630 acres. Isinjiro, there is 5 square miles there. Masindi, 21 square miles. So there's a lot of land for value addition, for industrial park development. Okay. So we want to encourage Ugandans really to take advantage. If you have a proposal for investment value addition, because we don't want to now start exporting jobs. Our raw materials, we have to add value in our country, in our industrial parks. We encourage you to apply for that land, and Uganda Investment Authority.
And what is the criteria that they have to go through to apply and actually get this land?
Criteria is very simple. You get a Uganda Investment Authority investment license. And very importantly, an investment license of Uganda Investment Authority is free. If there is anyone out there telling you have to pay for an investment license, please call me or call the relevant authorities. Do not get an investment, do not pay anything for an investment license. But qualify for a license. For a domestic investor, as I said, $50,000 minimum. Show the capacity. Because if you're a business person, you're not saying lock that in the account. Just show your business, your bank statement, you move this kind of money. So we should be able to give you that license.
Okay.
Have a license, then of course ensure that you have a TIN number from Revenue Authority, you are registered with the URSB, and of course a proposal of what you want to do for value addition. Then we will assess that for suitability for allocation of land. And that is the same across the board for both domestic and international investors.
Okay. Speaking of land, there have been complaints from some investors that land was, previously allocated to them, especially in the Kampala and Business Park, but later it was withdrawn. And is this a standard practice of the Uganda Investment Authority, or is it, driven by corrupt tendencies? What exactly is going on, or what happened?
First of all, land in industrial parks is free. His Excellency the President was very clear that land for investment in our industrial parks is free land. So this is land being given to a domestic or international investor. This is public land that is free. So we give it you free if you show the capacity to develop it. But you have to develop it, because for example, in Namang, we want 200,000 jobs by the time that park is finished next year. So how are we, if we give someone land and he spends 5 years doing nothing, that's Ugandans losing jobs. And in the lease agreement that is given to you, within 18 months, you have to have got all your building plans approved, environmental impact assessment done. You should, within 2 years, you should have finished the factory building. So if in 2 years you haven't started the factory building, you haven't done any business plan, what are we? This is public land. We shall remove the land and give it to someone who will be able to deliver that. Within 5 years, you have to be fully operational. So if you find in 5 years you're holding free land of Ugandans for 5 years and you're just sitting there doing nothing, we shall withdraw and give that land to a Ugandan who can give jobs to Uganda, because it's very critical. Industrial park development is for jobs for Ugandans value-added jobs, value addition jobs.
So this land is free?
This land is free in industrial parks.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Mr. Robert, as we conclude this conversation, what would be your closing remarks in regards to this topic?
My closing remarks are we need to stop exporting our raw materials. Exporting raw materials is the same as exporting jobs outside. If you export raw cocoa, someone in Europe makes the chocolate in a factory, so they have jobs there, they are paying taxes there, and you import that. So you're exporting jobs. So we need to, domestic investors, wherever you are, take advantage of the industrial park land that we've got, take advantage of the incentive regime, come to Uganda Investment Authority, let us give you this land, let us work together to create jobs for our young people. Uganda is, I believe, almost 80% are below the age of 30. We need to find them jobs. And those jobs, you're going to do that with industrialization. Support the President's agenda on industrialization.
All right. Thank you so much, Robert MUKIZA, the Director General of the Uganda Investment Authority. And with that, we take a break. And